The being known as Guardian floated silently in the void of space, watching Earth through eyes that had seen countless civilizations rise and fall. Unlike any creature humans might imagine, Guardian existed as a shimmering pattern of light and energy, vast as a small moon yet able to become as invisible as a thought. For millions of years, Guardian had traveled the galaxy, observing countless species and civilizations. Some races built massive empires that spanned thousands of stars. Others created technology so advanced it seemed like magic. A few even tried to become gods. But all of them, in their own ways, had disappointed Guardian. Today was different. Guardian had noticed something unusual about the small blue planet called Earth. While most species reached for the stars with weapons and warships, these humans were sending something else into space. Music, art, and messages of peace. Even more interesting were the small packages being carried between stars by their cargo ships. Gifts, Guardian thought, the concept still strange after weeks of study. They send each other gifts, even to colonies so far away that the journey takes months. Moving closer to one of Earth's orbital stations, Guardian watched as a ship unloaded its cargo. Inside the packages were toys for children, homemade foods, handwritten letters, and simple treasures from Earth. None of these items would make anyone rich or powerful. They served no military purpose. Their only value was the happiness they would bring to their recipients. Guardian accessed the station's computer systems, careful not to disturb any operations. The ancient being had learned long ago how to read data without being detected. What Guardian found in the shipping records was fascinating. Humans didn't just send gifts to family or friends. They sent them to strangers. They organized something called Secret Santa events between colonies. Some people even sent gifts anonymously, never wanting the receivers to know who helped them. This behavior made no sense to Guardian. In all their millions of years of watching other species, they had never seen anything quite like this. Other races traded goods for profit or exchanged items of equal value. Some gave gifts as political tools, expecting favors in return. But humans often gave simply for the joy of giving. Guardian remembered the mighty stellar empire, which had ruled a quarter of the galaxy. They had built ships that could destroy suns and cities that housed billions. But they had never thought to send a child on Mars a teddy bear from Earth, just to make them feel less homesick. The ancient being thought about the crystal mines, who had evolved beyond physical form. They had solved the mysteries of time and space, but had never understood why humans would spend hours making cookies to share with neighbors they barely knew. As Guardian continued to observe, they noticed something else unique about human gift-giving. It spread like a benevolent virus. When someone received an unexpected gift, they often felt inspired to give to others. Small acts of kindness created chains of generosity that crossed between colonies, planets, and social groups. Perhaps, Guardian thought, I have been watching the wrong things all these years. Perhaps true power isn't in weapons or technology or even knowledge. Perhaps it's in this strange human ability to give without reason, to help without reward, to make others happy simply because they can. For the first time in thousands of years, Guardian felt something new. Excitement. Here was something worth studying, worth understanding. Here was something that might change not just humanity, but the entire galaxy. As Earth's orbital station passed into the planet's shadow, Guardian made a decision. After millions of years of only watching, it was time to try something new. It was time to learn about giving. And who better to learn from than humanity? The Mars colony was having another bad day. Their main water recycling system had broken down for the third time that month, and the backup systems were struggling to keep up. Admiral Thomas stood at the control center's window, looking out at the red desert beyond the dome, wondering how much longer they could last without help from Earth. "Sir," called out one of the technicians, "you need to see this." The Admiral walked over to the monitoring station. On the screen was something that shouldn't have been there. A small, silvery box sitting right outside the colony's main airlock. None of their sensors had detected it arriving. "How long has it been there?" the Admiral asked. "That's the strange thing, sir. The cameras show it just appeared. One frame it wasn't there. The next frame it was. Following all safety protocols, they sent out a robot to examine the box. It was about the size of a microwave oven and seemed to be made of a metal no one had ever seen before. There were no markings except for one simple message in perfect English: for those who need water. After 3 days of careful testing showed no signs of danger, they brought the box inside. Dr. Lewis, their head scientist, spent hours trying to understand how it worked. When she finally figured it out, she couldn't believe what she was seeing. "It's impossible," she said to the admiral. "This device can pull water molecules from the air and combine them into pure drinking water, even in air as dry as Mars. And it does it without using any power source we can detect." The admiral watched as Dr. Lewis demonstrated. The box hummed softly and produced a steady stream of pure, clean water. According to their tests, it could make enough water in one day to supply the entire colony for a month. "What should we do with it?" Dr. Lewis asked. The admiral thought about it. They could keep it secret, use it to make their colony the most successful on Mars. They could sell the water to other colonies for a high price. But then he remembered how Earth colonies had helped them when they were first starting out. "Send the data to every colony on Mars," he ordered. "And send it to Earth too. Focus on the regions with the worst water shortages first." Within days, the gift's impact spread across Mars and Earth. Desert communities suddenly had all the water they needed. Drought-stricken farms bloomed again. Places that had fought over water for centuries found themselves with more than enough to share. Hidden safely in orbit, Guardian watched all of this with great interest. The being had expected the humans to keep the device for themselves, or try to use it for profit or power. That's what most species would have done. But instead, they shared it freely with everyone who needed it. Even more surprising was what happened next. Communities that received the water purifier's plans started sending other gifts to those who had shared with them: food, medicines, and supplies. The chain of giving grew longer and stronger. One colony used their saved water resources to build a new greenhouse and sent their first harvest to their neighbors. Another developed better ways to transport the water and shared these improvements with everyone. Each gift inspired more giving. Guardian had intended this as a small experiment, a test to see how humans would react to an advanced piece of technology. Instead, it had turned into something much bigger. The simple gift of water had started a wave of generosity that was changing life on 2 planets. As the beam watched Earth's night side light up with countless pinpoints of human civilization, Guardian came to a decision. This experiment needed to continue. It was time to learn more about these humans and their strange, wonderful way of sharing with each other. The first gift had been a success, but it was only the beginning. Guardian's study of human gift-giving began in an old library in London. The ancient being had taken the form of a shimmer in the air, invisible to human eyes, as it accessed the library's computers and books. What Guardian found amazed them more with each passing hour. There were so many stories about giving. Tales of a man called Saint Nicholas who secretly gave gifts to poor children. Stories of wealthy people who lived simply so they could give their money to help others. Archives full of news about anonymous donors who changed lives without ever wanting credit or fame. But what really caught Guardian's attention were the small stories. A child giving their favorite toy to a sad friend. A poor family sharing their small meal with hungry strangers. Workers taking pay cuts so their colleagues wouldn't lose their jobs. Again and again, humans chose to give when they could have kept things for themselves. Meanwhile, in another part of the galaxy, others had noticed Guardian's strange behavior. The Council of Elder Races called an emergency meeting on their hidden space station. "Guardian has never interfered before," said first speaker, a tall being made of crystalline light. "For millions of years, they have only watched. Why start now? And why with humans?" "These humans must be more dangerous than we thought," said another council member, their dark energy form pulsing with worry. "Perhaps they have some power we cannot see." "Or perhaps," said a third, Guardian has finally lost their mind after so many millennia alone. Back on Earth, Guardian had moved to a small town where something called a food bank was operating. Here, people brought food they could have kept for themselves and gave it to strangers they would never meet. The bean watched as an old woman brought in half her weekly groceries. "I don't need much," she told the volunteer, "and someone else needs it more than me." Guardian followed her home, curious. The woman lived in a small apartment with barely enough for herself, yet she had given so much away. It made no logical sense. In all their millions of years, Guardian had seen countless advanced civilizations. Some could build artificial suns. Others could travel through time. Many had solved hunger and poverty through technology and strict control of resources. But none had developed this simple yet powerful system. People helping people just because they could. As Guardian continued their study, they noticed something else unique about human giving. It wasn't organized by their governments. It wasn't enforced by their laws. It just happened. Like a beautiful dance that nobody planned but everyone somehow knew the steps to. The bean decided to try an experiment. In their invisible form, Guardian went to a busy street and caused a young man to trip. Before he even hit the ground, 3 people rushed to help him up. 2 others picked up his scattered belongings. A shop owner came out with a glass of water. None of them knew each other. None of them expected anything in return. Guardian's observations were interrupted by an urgent message from space. Other powerful beings were coming to investigate why Guardian had broken their age-old rule of non-interference. They were worried about the water purifier gift and what it might mean. But Guardian barely noticed the message. They were too busy watching a group of children collect coins to buy medicine for their sick teacher. In all the galaxy, with all its incredible advanced species, only humans did things like this. As the first ships of the elder races approached Earth's solar system, Guardian made notes about human generosity. Soon, they would have to explain to the others why humans were special. But how could you explain colors to beings who had never seen them? How could you explain the warmth of giving to species who had never felt it? Guardian would have to find a way. Because somehow, these humans and their gifts were changing everything. The warning came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Earth's deep space sensors detected a massive field of asteroids heading toward the solar system. But these weren't normal space rocks. They were moving too fast, too directly. They were aimed straight at human colonies. In the Mars colony control room, Admiral Thomas stared at the screens in horror. "How long do we have?" "3 days at most," said Dr. Lewis. "And there are too many to shoot down. We need technology we just don't have." Just then, every computer screen in the control room flickered. When they came back on, there was a simple message. "Look in storage room B." It was written in the same style as the message on the water purifier. In storage room B, behind some old equipment, they found another silver box. This one was bigger, about the size of a car, with markings that looked like star maps on its surface. The message on it read, "For those who wish to protect others." Dr. Lewis and her team worked day and night to understand the device. What they found was incredible. It was a shield generator more advanced than anything humans had ever seen. It could create an energy field strong enough to deflect asteroids. But there was a problem. The device had enough power for just one shield. It could protect Earth or Mars, but not both. And there wasn't time to make more. The Council of Earth met in an emergency session. Representatives from Mars joined by video. Everyone expected a fight over who would get the protection. Then something unexpected happened. "We have a third option," said Admiral Thomas. "The shield is mobile. Instead of protecting one planet, we could use it to break up the asteroid field itself. It's risky. If we get it wrong, no one will be protected. But if we succeed, everyone will be safe." The vote was unanimous. They would try to save everyone or fail together. As humans prepared their defense, they received another surprise. A distress signal came from a nearby star system. The same asteroid field that threatened Earth and Mars was also heading toward a planet inhabited by the blue shells, an alien species that had always been hostile to humans. The blue shells had better technology than humans, but even they couldn't stop all the asteroids. They hadn't asked for help. They probably wouldn't even accept it if offered. Guardian watched from hiding, wondering what humans would do. This was the real test. Not just whether humans would share technology, but whether they would help those who had never helped them. Admiral Thomas looked at the star maps showing both human worlds and the blue shell planet. Then he smiled and gave an order that would change galactic history. Plot a course that saves everyone. The blue shells are people too, even if they don't like us much. The next 3 days were the longest in human history. The shield generator worked better than anyone had hoped, breaking up asteroids into harmless pieces. Human pilots risked their lives again and again, moving the shield to protect not just Earth and Mars, but also the blue shell world. Not a single planet was hit. Not a single life was lost. The blue shells were confused. Their leaders sent a message asking why humans had helped them. Admiral Thomas sent back a simple reply. Because we could. That's what neighbors do. Hidden in space, Guardian felt something they hadn't experienced in millions of years. Joy. The test had worked even better than planned. Humans hadn't just protected themselves. They hadn't even just shared technology. They had risked everything to save people who had never shown them kindness. As Guardian prepared to face the angry elder races, they knew they had found something precious. In all the galaxy, only humans understood that the greatest gift wasn't the protection itself. It was the choice to protect others, even at a cost to yourself. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was a sight few beings ever witnessed. Its walls were made of living starlight, and its floor showed the spinning galaxies below. Here, the most powerful species in the universe gathered to discuss one thing: the problem of humanity. Guardian floated in the center of the hall, their energy form glowing softly. Around them, representatives of the elder races waited in their various forms, some made of crystal, others of pure energy, and some that looked like moving shadows. "You have broken our oldest law," said first speaker, their crystal form flashing with anger. "We do not interfere with developing species. We do not give them advanced technology. And we certainly don't give them weapons." "I gave them no weapons," Guardian replied calmly. "I gave them tools to help others." "There is a difference. The shield generator could be turned into a weapon," argued Shadow Voice, a dark shape that rippled like smoke. "They could use it to block sunlight from planets, to trap ships, to—" "But they didn't," Guardian interrupted. "When given the choice between protecting themselves or saving everyone, including their enemies, what did they do?" The council members fell silent, remembering how the humans had used the shield generator to protect the blue shell world. Guardian continued, projecting images into the air. Humans sharing water with distant colonies, children giving away their toys, old women sharing food with strangers, and communities coming together to help others. In all our millions of years watching the galaxy, have you ever seen anything like this? Guardian asked. Other species trade. They make deals. They give to get something back. But humans give simply because they can. "It's inefficient," said Mindweaver, a being of pure thought. "Their resources could be better used if properly controlled." "Is it inefficient?" Guardian challenged. "Look at what happened after I gave them the water purifier. Instead of fighting over it, they shared it. Instead of using it for power, they used it to help others. And those they helped then helped others in return." Guardian showed more images. Desert communities growing food with their new water supply and sharing it with neighbors. Colonies working together to improve the technology, and people finding new ways to help each other every day. "They call it paying it forward," Guardian explained. "When someone helps them, they help others. It spreads like ripples in water, growing bigger and bigger." "This is dangerous," first speaker warned. "If this behavior spreads to other species—" "It already has," Guardian interrupted. "The blue shells have started trading with human colonies. not for profit, but because humans help them without asking for anything in return. They're learning something new, the joy of giving. The council erupted in argument. Some members demanded that Guardian be punished. Others wanted to isolate humanity to stop their ideas from spreading. A few were just confused by the whole thing. Guardian waited until they quieted down, then said something that made them all stop. In all our watching, in all our power, what have we actually done to make the galaxy better? We have knowledge, but we don't share it. We have power, but we don't use it to help others. Maybe it's time we learned something from these humans. A deep silence fell over the great hall. The elder races had always seen themselves as the teachers, the guides, the wise ones. The idea that they could learn from humans, a young species that had barely reached its own moon, was shocking. But as they watched more images of human kindness and generosity, something began to change in the Great Hall. For the first time in millions of years, the elder races began to wonder if perhaps they weren't as wise as they thought. 1 year after the council meeting, the galaxy had changed more than anyone expected. It started with the blue shells, who surprised everyone by sending a gift to the Mars colony: advanced farming technology that could grow food in the harshest environments. Admiral Thomas stood in the new garden dome, watching blue and purple plants from the alien world grow alongside Earth crops. "Why did you send us this?" he had asked the blue shell ambassador. "Because you saved our world when you didn't have to," the ambassador replied. "We never understood giving before. Now we want to try it too." The blue shells weren't alone. Other alien species watched and learned. The crystal people, who had always kept their art to themselves, began sharing their beautiful light sculptures with other worlds. The shadow dancers taught others how to use darkness to create energy. Each gift led to more gifts, just like Guardian had seen happen with humans. But not everyone was happy about these changes. The Trade Empire, a powerful group that had controlled most galactic commerce for thousands of years, saw their influence decreasing. Why would species pay high prices for resources when others would share them freely? The Trade Empire decided to fight back. They blocked shipping lanes and threatened to cut off supplies to worlds that participated in gift-giving. They expected worlds to quickly give up this new way of doing things. They were wrong. Instead of giving up, different species found new ways to help each other. The energy weavers provided power to blocked worlds. The star swimmers carried messages and supplies through paths in space only they knew. The mountain shapers taught others how to find resources on their own worlds. Guardian watched all of this from Earth, where they were studying a small town's winter holiday celebration. People were collecting food, toys, and warm clothes for families who needed help. As Guardian watched, they noticed something remarkable. Some of the people giving gifts were the same ones who had received help the previous year. Now that they were doing better, they wanted to help others. The being realized that this was what made human-style giving so powerful. It wasn't just about the gifts themselves. It was about how giving changed both the giver and the receiver. People who were helped wanted to help others. Species who received gifts wanted to give gifts of their own. In space, the Trade Empire's power continued to crumble. Their own workers began giving away trade secrets to help others. Some of their ships disappeared, only to reappear helping blocked worlds. Even their own leaders started questioning if there might be a better way to do things. One day, a group of young Trade Empire officials did something unprecedented. They asked humans for advice. They wanted to know how to change their empire from one based on taking to one based on giving. Human teachers, doctors, and community organizers traveled to different worlds, sharing not advanced technology, but simple ideas about helping others and working together. They taught aliens about food banks and volunteer groups, about community gardens and free libraries, about all the little ways people could help each other. Guardian had started this change by giving humans gifts of advanced technology. But in the end, humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy wasn't technology at all. It was the simple idea that giving was its own reward, that helping others made life better for everyone. As the being watched more and more species learn to give, Guardian realized that their experiment had grown into something much bigger than planned. It wasn't just changing how species acted, it was changing how they thought about each other and themselves. The galaxy was becoming a place where the first question wasn't, "What can I get?" but "What can I give?" 5 years had passed since Guardian's first gift appeared outside the Mars colony. The old control room, where Admiral Thomas had first seen the water purifier, was now a museum. But today, something different was happening there. For the first time in history, Guardian had decided to appear openly to humans. Their shimmering form filled the room with soft light as representatives from Earth, Mars, and 20 alien species watched in amazement. "I have watched over the galaxy for millions of years," Guardian's voice echoed gently in everyone's minds. "I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species achieve incredible things, but none of them ever discovered what humans knew all along: the simple power of giving without expecting anything in return." Admiral Thomas, now older but still standing straight and proud, stepped forward. "But you taught us that," he said. "You gave us the water purifier and the shield generator." Guardian's form rippled with what might have been laughter. "No, I didn't teach you. I just gave you tools to show others what you already knew. Humans were giving long before I arrived. You gave when you had nothing. You gave to people you didn't know. You even gave to those who had been unkind to you." The Blue Shell ambassador spoke next. "They taught us well. On my world, children now learn about Earth's traditions of giving. We have something similar to their secret Santa now, but we call it the hidden light." Other aliens shared similar stories. The Crystal People had started a tradition of gifting light sculptures to newborns on every world. The Shadow Dancers held yearly festivals, where they taught their art to anyone who wanted to learn. Even the Trade Empire had changed its name to the Sharing Collective. "But why did you choose us?" a young Earth scientist asked Guardian. "Why give us those first gifts?" Guardian moved closer, their light touching each person in the room gently. "Because in all the galaxy, only humans understood that true power doesn't come from taking or keeping or controlling. It comes from giving. You knew that helping others made you stronger, not weaker. That sharing brought joy not just to others, but to yourselves." Then Guardian did something unexpected. They began to dim their light. "My time of watching is ending," they said. "I have lived for millions of years. I have seen enough. But before I go, I want to give one last gift." From Guardian's fading form, a small silver box appeared. Unlike the previous gifts, this one had no message on it. When opened, it contained only a simple hologram showing paths of light connecting different worlds. "These are the paths of giving I have watched form over the past 5 years," Guardian explained. "Each line is a gift given, a kindness shared, a connection made. Look how they spread. Look how they grow." The hologram filled the room, showing thousands of lines of light connecting planets, species, and people. It was beautiful beyond words. "This is my final gift to you. The knowledge of what you have created. A galaxy where giving is more powerful than taking, where kindness spreads faster than fear, where helping others is seen as strength, not weakness." As Guardian's form faded further, Admiral Thomas asked one last question. "Will we see you again?" Guardian's voice was barely a whisper now. "You don't need me anymore. You have given the galaxy something far more valuable than any gift I could provide. You have given it a new way to live, a better way. That is humanity's greatest gift, and it will live on long after I am gone." With those words, Guardian vanished. But their legacy lived on in every act of kindness, every gift given, every connection made between different peoples and worlds. The galaxy had learned what humans had known all along, that the greatest power of all was the simple act of giving.